So I've had Kindle for a little while, and I've been putting off actually loading it up with all of the books that I want to read from KU, because KU is just like drinking from a fire hose. Discoverability is so difficult for readers and for writers. So I finally made myself sit down actually a couple of weeks ago and loaded up on some different books that sounded really interesting to me. You might have heard of some of them. Some of them I hope are new to you. And I thought I would just share my Kindle TBR. I have 16 different books to talk about, I think. I think that I have quite a range. I have fantasy, some romantasy, and just romance, thrillers, and horror. So let's just get into them. So when I downloaded KU, the very first thing that I got on my Kindle was actually Sword of Kyen. This was super popular a few years ago. It has a 4.47 rating on Goodreads from 44,000 people. Description briefly says, a mother struggling to repress her violent past, a son struggling to grip his violent future, a father blind to the danger that threatens them all. So this follows the Matsuda family that is defending against an empire. They live high on a mountainside at the edge of the Kyenese Empire, where the most powerful warriors in the world, superhumans, capable of raising the sea and wielding blades of ice. Okay, that sounds really cool. I feel like this might be Japanese inspired. We are following a daughter and I believe her mother. What appeals to me about this book is that I've heard a lot of people really love the representation of like a older woman, like a woman who is not 21 years old, that is becoming a warrior again and like rediscovering a facet of herself outside of motherhood. The next one I have to talk about is When Gods Fall by S.E. Bouvier. And this only has 339 ratings on, but I'm never quite sure how much to trust some of the ratings that I see online, but I guess we'll just see. The back cover says, two sisters, both destined for greatness. One will rise and one will fall. We're following Alina, who has been in the freak folk camps. Magic is forbidden and the gods are dead. Alina has lived in the camps all her life, but is fascinated by the old lands and their magic. Their father is injured in a hunting accident. Alina has no choice but to break free folk law to save him, a crime for which she is swiftly captured, and now her only older sister, Catel, can help save her. Catel is a huntress, power-hungry emperor, strong heroines, elemental magic, ancient Greek and Roman influences, tortured heroes, heart-wrenching romance, upper YA fantasy. And this is the first book in a new epic fantasy series. So I don't know, I'm very intrigued by this. There's a lot of detail, which is why I didn't read it, because I know some people don't like to know loads going into the book, and I'm a little afraid just like looking down there, maybe that description just gave away most of the plot of the book. I can never tell. Does it happen in the first 30 pages or does it happen in the first 350 pages? But that is When Gods Fall. The next one is really popular. I think this is a romantasy that I have heard loads of people talk about. It is called Reign and Ruin by J.D. Evans. She is heir to a sultanate that once ruled the world. He is an unwanted prince with the power to destroy. She is order and intellect, a woman fit to rule in a man's place. He is chaos and violence, and will stop at nothing to protect his people. Okay, but what's happening though? Magic is dying. We need mages because the magic is dying. A new war is coming. Okay, you know what? This really tells you nothing about the plot, in my opinion, but it sounds like there's two people who are going to have an angsty romance and war. Again, this has like a 4-point-something rating on Goodreads. Apparently, so Mark Lawrence does a self-published fantasy sort of awards list. I don't know loads and loads about it, but I heard about it quite recently, and apparently this book won 7th one year. And he has this big post about it being a very good book, so I guess we'll find out. I guess we will find out. Another book that I have is called The Solstice Court. This is also what looks like it's the beginning of a trilogy. And I actually originally heard about this from Good Morning Dreamer. I'll link the channel below. But she read the ARC and really enjoyed it and has mentioned it a few different times. And so I'm curious to see what it's like. It's tagged as queer, and it says that Kezra lives behind a veil of peace. Her kingdom is fruitful, her weather fair. She wants nothing more than to escape and explore the world beyond her castle walls. But she is the sole heir. She has a ton of responsibilities, particularly as there is a decades-long war at her palace gates. And then it seems that drama ensues when two warring heirs from the opposing kingdom arrive at her gates. It says that it is a story filled with magic, alliances, platonic soulmates, and a dollop of romance. But I think the cover is just really beautiful. It reminds me of something that I cannot put my finger on. But yeah, it sounds like it could be different. It sounds interesting. Ooh, okay, the next book I was really shocked actually to see on Kindle Unlimited. This has been on my TBR for ages. It is called Daughter of the Blood. And it's actually a book from 1998 by Anne Bishop, the first of the Black Jewels trilogy. I swear to God, I heard someone, an author, I was listening to an interview, and I want to say that it was Sarah J. Maas, but I don't remember, saying that this book series actually had a huge impact on her. And yeah, I don't remember who it was for sure, but I think it was her. So I think this is a dark fantasy. I really enjoyed her Others series I've talked about before in my underrated fantasy series video. But it says the Dark Kingdom is preparing itself for the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy, the arrival of a new queen, a witch who will wield more power than even the High Lord of Hell himself. But this ruler is young and very susceptible to influence and corruption. Oh, I wonder if they're killing... Okay, so this is a total aside, but I live in Australia, so Southern Hemisphere, it's summer right now, or early summer, and all of the insects like spiders and stuff are waking up, and there's just been this massive insect boom, and every chain link fence that's near my house is just coated in webs and these tiny gross little insects, and they're spraying the fence right now with something. I think maybe it's just water, I'm not sure. I hope it's not a chemical. Anyway, very distracting. But Daughter of the Blood, yes. So she's susceptible to corruption. Whoever controls her controls the darkness. This sounds a little bit also maybe like Shadow and Bone. Is it? No. And now 3 sworn enemies begin a ruthless game of politics, intrigue, magic, betrayal, and the destiny of the world is at stake. So I don't know anything about this. If you've read it, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. The next one is Court of Winter. This is part of the Fae of Snow and Ice series. I am assuming that that translates to romantasy, where it says, being a defective marks me in the eyes of the soulless Fae. Wingless, magicless, weak. I'm nothing, not when strength is needed to survive the perpetual snow and ice that shrouds our northern continent in endless winter. Okay, that's why I remember why I downloaded this now. I am always totally enamored with any kind of setting that is like snow and ice and winter. So in selecting this book for this list, I will be totally transparent. I was looking at the setting. It's called Court of Winter and Fae of Snow and Ice. 4-star rating, good enough for me. So then the hated crown prince of the Winter Court thunders into our village. Prince Norvin's massive black wings and potent magic cloud my senses and steal my breath. He is beautiful and brutal, so when he whisks me away and locks me in his castle, I am certain my death is tomorrow's promise. Yeah, okay. I actually enjoy some romantasy, even if they are clearly inspired by a certain series with like Black Batwing boys. At least Carissa Broadbent's Diaxia series was really good and very unique. I am getting some ACOTAR vibes here, but we'll just see. A Court of Winter. Okay, huge pivot to Dean Koontz, Forest of Lost Souls. This also has really high ratings, obviously. I must have great taste. I've never read a Dean Koontz novel, but it also has a really cool cover. It says, a fearless woman raised in the forest fights against a group of powerful men in a novel about good versus evil, enduring nature of myth, and power of love. Yes, so she grew up in the forest with her uncle and has an affinity for nature, especially wolves. Okay, I'm not sure if I completely understand, but it sounds like girl grows up in forest, might have some kind of supernatural leaning powers. Her lover is killed by the people in the adjacent town, possibly, and they want to kill her too. That's what I'm reading from this. So, seems like it is a thriller fantasy thing. I was not expecting the supernatural aspect, but I'm actually really excited about this one. I think this sounds really cool. The next one I have to talk about is The Edge of Collapse. This is like a dystopian post-apocalyptic survival horror, I believe. Again, with the wintry setting. So it says, in the dead of winter, an EMP attack destroys the US power grid. No electricity, no cars or phones. The country is plunged into chaos. For Hannah Sheridan, it is the best day of her life. For the last 5 years, she's been the captive of a sadistic psychopath until this power outage locks her out of her prison, or like unlocks her prison. I don't remember any of this. Okay, battered but not broken, she emerges from her underground cell into the winter wilderness with nothing but her determination to survive. And then the reclusive ex-soldier Liam Coleman is headed nowhere fast. He believed that he was prepared for disaster, and it seems like they begin making their way to safety together through the wilderness with her psychopathic captor on their heels. So I don't know, sounds interesting. I am getting The Last of Us, but in the winter, maybe. After that, I have Grave Matter. This is a horror romance meets science fiction, so very genre bendy, in a dark and delicious gothic psychological thriller. Perfect for people who like Ninth House and Mexican Gothic, which I do. It also mentions Gothic Hannah, which I have not read, but I have a feeling it is not for me, but we'll see. Okay, aspiring mycologist gets a dream opportunity to do work with Alzheimer's research. This is by Vancouver. Okay, I'm so excited to read this. I don't think I realized that before. Okay, so I'm from Vancouver area. That's why I'm so excited here. Okay, so she joins a dozen other grad students to go to an isolated lodge hidden away in the remote, fog-shrouded inlet on Vancouver Island. But this foundation, the Alzheimer's Foundation, harbors more than brilliant minds. Everyone around her is hiding a terrible secret, including the resident psychologist that she's falling in love with. Bad idea. Student disappears and nobody but Sydney seems to care. Ghosts walk the halls. Snow falls in the middle of summer. Dead animals move like the living. The more Sydney uncovers about the Foundation, the more she begins to question her own sanity. And if Sydney isn't going mad, then the horrors of the surrounding forest are real, and the Madrona Foundation may be the biggest monster of them all. This came out October 23rd, 2024, but it's already got 1,200 ratings. I'm so excited about this. I am not even sure if I understand how mycology and Alzheimer's go together and what they would be doing in the Vancouver Inlet, but I'm willing to find out. So that is Grave Matter. Continuing with a sort of more morbid leaning TBR. This is a book that I picked up, or like that I clicked on because it looks like a Pulp Fiction kind of cover, and I think it's just wonderful. But it's part of the Last Responders series. This is book 2. I have not read book 1. I don't know if I need to. And it's called Undertaking Love. Bethany West swapped her highly lucrative modeling career for her dream job as a mortician when she partnered with Smythe and Company Mortuary. In those 7 months, she expected to blow the roof off the Victorian-era relic with her eco-friendly innovations and death-positive attitude. But during that time, she's only managed to piss off her embittered business partner, George Smythe, a man dead set on maintaining the status quo and driving Bethany out of his namesake business. They travel to a mortuary conference in New Orleans, competing against each other in dueling and bombing demonstrations. Oh my god, this is so good. I love this so much. Bethany can finally exhume what's really buried beneath George's ice-cold contempt for the living. This just sounds like a lot of fun to me. I'm very excited to read this book. I think it will be very fun. The next one I'm less sure about. So, okay. Last month, I started to read a book called Master of Salt and Bone by Carrie Lake. And I enjoyed her writing style and like the concept of it, but I felt that it kind of leaned a little bit more dark romance than what I tend to enjoy. So I didn't finish it, but I am like kind of curious on seeing what else she does. So I have Anathema on my list. It says Anathema is a dark Gothic fantasy, the first book in the Eating Woods duology, perfect for readers who enjoy a plot-heavy atmospheric story with a unique magic system and slow burn romance and touch of horror. So on paper, this should be perfect for me. Only the banished know what lies beyond the woods. There are whispers about what lurks in Witch Knell, the forest where sinners go to die. The villagers call it the Eating Woods because what's taken is never given back. Only those who have lost their senses would dare go near it, or the banished. Maeve Bronwick knows better than to breach the misty labyrinth of trees, but in a tragic turn of events, she is compelled beyond the archway of bones to a boundary no mortal has crossed before. One that cloaks a dark and fantastical world that's as dangerous as it is alluring. Then there's a cursed lord of Eidolon, and he needs her blood to break the curse. Very hopeful about Anathema by Carrie Lake. The next one I totally chose based on the cover. It says that it is a new adult fantasy featuring enemies to lovers, knife to throat, deadly bargains, mild steam, single POV fantasy. Romance, perfect for Crescent City, gritty investigations, and Caravel's lush world. In New Swansea, a glittering city once inhabited by vampires, power rests not with the royal class, but with the bargainers, deities trapped in magic mirrors who exchange power, wealth, and knowledge for a cost, often a wretched one. Guinevere, Ashell wants nothing to do with the bargainers, but at 23, she's getting too old to make it into the royal ballet. With only one shot left, she'll do anything, including make a twisted deal with an evil god. The agreement is passionately kiss her arch nemesis, Prince Emrys, and she'll receive her dream spot in the royal ballet. And then it backfires, and then it seems like somebody was killed by a vampire, so she's gonna use her medical examiner skills to solve the murder. There are things here that appeal to me. I think it all kind of will come down to execution, but it has also a 4-star rating, and it came out in August this year, so Gilded Wicked Mirrors. Okay, so then I have one more to mention, that is Wolf Hall. So obviously this book is on the New York Times best of this century, and I know that I've seen it a lot in used bookstores, and I've heard from a lot of people that it is better to read physically rather than listen to. I'm starting to feel more historical fiction lately. I kind of go through these phases of reading it, and yeah, Wolf Hall is England set in the 1520s. If the king dies without a male heir, the country could be destroyed by civil war. Henry VIII wants to annul his marriage of 20 years and marry Anne Boleyn. The Pope and most of Europe opposes him, and we, I believe, are following Thomas Cromwell, who is a wholly original man, a charmer and a bully, both idealistic and opportunist, astute in reading people, and implacable in his ambition. But Henry is volatile, one day tender and one day murderous. Cromwell helps him break the opposition, but what will be the price of his triumph? That is also on my TBR. And that, I believe, brings me to the end of this video. So if you made it to this point, thank you very much for watching. I would love to hear what book you think I should read first. I'm leaning very heavily towards Grave Matter just because of the Vancouver connection, but there are a few on this list that I'm really excited about and curious to read. Yeah, let me know what I should read first. And also let me know what your favorite books are on Kindle Unlimited, because I feel like there are just so many options. It can become overwhelming very quickly, and yeah, I would like to know. What do you like to read on there? So if you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day wherever and whenever you are. And I will see you again very soon in another video. Bye!